call to order the meeting of Connecticut Board of Education. I need a motion and a second.
Motion.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. We only have two on the table.
Aye.
Got two ayes.
I don't know what aye.
Motion, I need a motion and a second to move into executive session.
Motion.
For the Board of Education, move into executive session in accordance with open meetings law, section 105 Act, employment history of a particular person, confidential collective bargaining negotiations pursuant to Article 14 of the Civil Service Law, 105D, to discuss the proposed litigation and exempt under open meetings law to seek legal advice from the board's attorney. I need a motion and a second. Second. Second, your second? All in favor?
But it was not on the agenda for the board to officially accept it. So I put it on for tonight, if you would please accept it. She did make note in the management letter that they noticed in the prior year audit that in their sample of transactions tested, there were some issues and that there's been significant improvement. There were, some issues, just not as many as last year, just maybe lacking student signature, where the documentation was not sufficient. However, these are not district funds. The district offers guidance to the students. This is meant to be a learning experience for them and how to run business and conduct their clubs. So we do expect to see suggestions and points. So she is saying there was significant improvement every year. I go with the district treasurer and the faculty auditor and meet with the secondary advisors who are really incredible and ask questions to see how to make the documentation better. It's really meant to be a learning experience for the students, and they are running their clubs. So this is really, all in all, a nice comment and an improvement, and we're always seeking to make not only the district's procedures better, but also the extra classroom procedures better. So the audit report is attached to the agenda, and I'm just asking for the board to officially accept it.
I need a motion and a second to accept the 2017-18 extra classroom activity lunch report.
Motion. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
I need a motion and a second to reconvene to this, reconvene the
Business meeting.
I need a motion and a second to reconvene the business meeting.
Motion.
Second? Aye. We have a report from the student government tonight.
This Thursday, the 15th, the student government is attending Walton High School. They're hosting a Flashing Black Borders event. It's a leadership conference where the student government officials from Rhode Island get together and do any character building exercises. And the keynote speaker at the end to help to conclude what they accomplished with the event.
Today, a few of us from my high school through junior achievement went to the elementary schools, and we taught a business lesson to the fifth graders there at each of the elementary schools. So today, me and Adam actually went to Idlehour, and it's a series of 5 lessons, 45 minutes each, that you guys plan out about a week and a half ahead of time, and then you teach it to the kids. So this is me and Adam's second time doing it. I believe we had another returning group from last year as well, and we all enjoyed it a great deal. The kids seemed to really like it. So just a big shout out to Miss Semp and Miss Bismarck, who facilitated that for us. That's all we have.
That's pretty cool. So give us an example of what they're learning.
Sure. So the first, each lesson has its own title. So the first one was titled The Money Garden, where it's basically telling the kids that, it would be great if money grew in a garden or on trees, but realistically, it does not. So what are ways that you could earn money? So then we discussed earning, saving, spending, and then as the lessons progress, it's an idea for your business, how you could run a business, how you could expand, and then the last one would be if you wanted to expand your company globally. So it's an import-export lesson, things like that, and that's how we wrap up the day.
And what grade level is this?
5th grade.
That's pretty cool. That's really cool. So the kids engaged, they asked all the questions?
Yeah, lots of questions. There's games spread out in between the, break up all the lecturing and stuff like that. And everybody seemed to really like it. Actually asked, so, can you guys come back again later this year? And I was like, oh, we'll see. But, thank you very much, guys. So, we loved it, though. It was a great thing. We'll definitely be doing it again next year.
That's very cool. So is there anything on the calendar coming up with the high school?
I know that we have our professional worship. We have the food drive ending on the 16th of November. Is it Friday? It's Friday, and then Compassion Without Borders. Through that trip, we've been collecting goods for veterans and active duty service members in the form of hygiene products, pillows, slippers, sandals, things like that. You would generally use clothing, so we can collect that as well.
Very good stuff.
Thank you.
Okay, we're moving on to new business. Kennecott School Progress Report 2017.
Thank you. I'd like to welcome some of our curriculum directors. We have Dr. Mary Lawson, who is the chairperson for our science, family consumer science, and technology departments. Ms. Margaret Ronai, who is the director of social studies and business. Ms. Christina Poppy, who is our English language arts director, as well as in charge of our district libraries. And Denise Hanaway, who is our E&L director and languages world language, sorry, keeps changing. They're here to present the updates on the assessments from this past year and the work that the high school has done. I'll share the 3 through 8 assessments at the end, which is kind of difficult to present, but we'll share it. So I invite them up right now. No, down. Yes. Dr. Lawson?
I'm actually going to have the pleasure of being here for Mrs. Berger for the first portion of this, so I will present the math results. Oh, sorry. Okay, thank you. If we could have the next slide.
You have the...
Oh, I'm sorry. All right, so these are our results for the three mathematics Regents exams, Common Core Algebra, Geometry, and Algebra 2. And you can see that we've steadily increased our percentage passing in algebra and in geometry, and we held steady at 92% passing in algebra 2. I will point out that in comparison to the entire eastern Suffolk-Boces region, they only had 78% passing on the algebra, 75% on geometry, and they also had 92% on algebra 2. So we have done better than the region on those two exams. And in terms of graduation requirements, students are required to pass one Math Regents exam to graduate with the Regents diploma, and they must pass all 3 Regents exams to graduate with the Advanced Regents diploma. And these are our mastery rates. As Common Core is getting more and more familiar, they go up slightly, but it's definitely not been a huge progression, but still we are, at least in algebra, significantly ahead of Eastern Suffolk OCs, we had 26% of our students at mastery. The region had 18%. In geometry, we're at 13%. The region was at 17%. And in Algebra 2, we are at 23%, and the region was at 26%.
Can I just ask a question? So what happened here and here? Is that where, oh no, it was Trent that had the debacle, two of the questions that were,
We had, geometry was an issue with the assessment, and then there were some challenges with the Algebra 2 as well.
And these are the math AP exams. As you can see, we have two versions of calculus, AB and BC, BC being the more challenging exam. And then we also have AP Computer Science and AP Statistics. I will also point out that students that are in AP Statistics often can register for Excelsior credit through Suffolk Community College, and they will get that credit by completing the course. And so in some cases, we don't have as many students sitting for that exam because they already know that they have credit through the college. In terms of things that are happening in mathematics, last year in 2017-18, a new resource was made available to our grade 6 teachers. New York State adopted the K-12 Next Gen Math Standards in September of 2017, and so work went on during the course of the year professional development work went on to support the changes that needed to take place to the curriculum. Last year we explored starting a computer science academy as well as new computer science courses to think about what we could add to our program that would be attractive to our students and set them up in a good place for college. And then of course every year we take a hard look at how our students do on our assessments and what we can learn from that going forward in making changes in our curriculum. This summer, there was curriculum writing in mathematics. There is a new resource for grades 6 through 8, so that supports the new Next Gen math curriculum. And of course, unpacking the standards takes place throughout the year to make sure that everyone clearly understands the standards, because sometimes regardless of how they're written, they really need to be unpacked to truly understand how instruction needs to change. And of course there's professional development to support those changes and to look at the data that we get from our students both at the end of the year and throughout the year. We are going to be introducing a new AP Computer Science Principles course at the high school, and we will be creating the Computer Science Academy. And those conversations are ongoing now with a team of teachers and administrators to look at what courses in math, but what courses in other areas are going to be necessary to support the Computer Science Academy.
Sorry.
That's okay? All right. I'll introduce Ms. Poppy to talk about ELA.
Good evening. I'm Christina Poppy, the Director of English Language Arts, and I'm proud to present to you our 2018 results from our Regents and AP testing. So in 2016, we moved into taking the Common Core English Language Arts Regents exam statewide, and we have really held steady in terms of our overall passing rate in that 3-year range. We dipped 1 percentage point in 2018, which is still in the face of a test that was marked by our fellow Long Island districts as significantly more challenging, really very impressive in terms of our output and our final results. In terms of our percent mastery on the same exam, we dipped a little bit to 72%, but again, the feedback from our neighboring districts and districts in Nassau County was that we had some reading passages that really presented unique challenges to students. They were a little more obscure in June 2018 than we've seen in past exams. And so a number of districts recognized the little dip. Ours is kind of in line with the results island-wide from what I was able to gather from our neighboring school districts. Still very proud to present a 72% mastery rate on that exam amongst our student body here at Connecticut. In terms of our AP courses, we offer two, well, technically we offer three within the English department now, but in terms of the data that we have for our student scores, AP Literature and Composition brings in with 3.02 course average for exam kind of performance there. That's the 12th grade course. And our 11th grade course, the 11th grade course is on the right. They're labeled the same there. Should be AP Language and Composition. Apologies there. We experienced a slight dip there as well, but we are well above the state and national averages in terms of student performance on both of those exams. In 2017-2018, we also in the English department or in the English realm saw the adoption of those New York State Next Generation Standards in English Language Arts. And essentially from that point forward, we're entering this phase of raising awareness amongst our faculty and pulling our kind of classroom experiences into and around this new battery of standards. I stood before you last year to say that essentially the new standards are not very much different than the Common Core state standards. And what we've been doing in the past year is really examining the changes that are encompassed within the document and really kind of figuring out how we're flexing those changes within our classrooms at every level. Most recently, this past month, we've been doing work specifically in the middle schools in grades 6 through 8 in terms of raising teacher awareness to the changes in the documents for the next generation standards. New York State has issued a guideline and implementation timeline for these new standards, and we're actually ahead of the curve at this point. But we've had some very rich conversations about the changes to the documents and, again, how we flex those standards in our classrooms. In addition, we've done some curriculum writing over this past summer. We've started with our English 12 courses, English 12 Regents, English 12 Honors, in accordance with those next-gen standards. And for this coming summer, I'll propose some projects for English 9 through 11 in addition. We always, as Dr. Losing said, take a look at where we sort of have come from in terms of our performance on the previous year's assessment. So we're spending some time looking at our 2017 to 2018 state assessment data, especially at the high school level. And within the high school, we've experienced the successful launch of AP Seminar within the AP Capstone course of study. So we're fully implemented with 2 sections of the course. Things are going well. Students are excited. The teacher who's implementing AP Seminar this year is incredibly excited about the work that's happening in her classroom. So thank you very much for your support in that realm. And next, I'll introduce Dr. Losing again to talk about our science results.
Results that we have for science program. As you can see, we have 4 Regents exams in science. We went up a little bit in earth science, but holding steady in the 90s throughout all 3 years. A little bit of a dip in living environment. We're seeing definitely that there are some significant challenges for students with the reading that's necessary to determine what questions are asking so that students can formulate an answer to some of those questions. You also see that a little dip in chemistry. I really think that for the most part is due to the scale of the chemistry exam. I don't know what they were thinking, to be honest. They had several ways to earn a 64 instead of a 65, so you catch students there. Students that numerically should have gotten mastery with an 85% of the questions correct got a scaled score of 84. So I've spoken to the person who runs the test, and they're basically not changing anything until the new chemistry regions comes out, which is pretty appalling.
Wow.
Um,
Wow,
And you can see that we did have an increase in our physics exams. I will say with the regional data that BOCES has made available, our 93% in in living environment is quite a bit higher than the 83% of the Eastern Suffolk BOCES region, and our 89% in chemistry is above the 81% of the region. These are our mastery rates. As you can see, we hold steadily above 50% in both earth science and living environment. As I said, we had a dip in chemistry in large part because of the way the scale runs, and we're holding in the 40% mastery rate on the physics regions. And just to give some regional totals there, in chemistry in the region, the total was 22%, so we still are above the region. And in living environment, the region had 44% compared to our 56%. So we're still ahead of the region in that particular case. And just in terms of what's necessary for a Regents diploma, students need to pass one of these 4 exams in almost every case. It's either earth science or living environment, and they need to pass 2 in order to be eligible for the advanced Regents diploma.
So let me ask you a question.
Sure.
Because of the dips in chemistry, and just talking about the masteries on the diplomas, the little seal, and the children might not see that. This can actually hurt some children from actually obtaining that seal, so to speak, right?
For the advanced diploma with honors, it is unfortunately possible. These are our AP results. As you can see in AP Biology, we went up. I will also point out that this was our first year where we had a class of 9th grade students that took AP Biology, and all of those students scored 3, 4, or 5, so they contributed to that score. We had over a 3.5, as you can see, in AP Chemistry. AP Physics also holding at above 3.5. We're no longer offering AP Physics 2 because we felt if students were going to study a second year of physics, they really should go to AP Physics C, the calculus version, which is going to much better prepare anyone that is planning on entering the STEM field. The AP Physics C is broken into a mechanics exam, which is the CM there, and then an electricity and magnetism exam, which is the E and M. I will say our teachers saw the score in 2017 on the E and M. In the first year we offered the course and weren't happy and really changed the way they were teaching that, which is why the score is definitely increased in that particular exam.
So for this year, did you have the same amount of interest in the 9th grade?
Yes, we actually had more. We have a full class of 24 students.
And last year we had how many?
I think we had maybe 12 to 15. I'm not
Wow.
Yeah, so it was a nice increase. And things that are changing in science. Last July was the implementation date for the New York State P12 Science Learning Standards, as State Ed would like us to call them. They didn't intend that beginning July 1 it was all hands on deck. They really want a slow, thoughtful rollout, with this last year and this year being making sure that everyone actually knows that there are new standards. And as silly as that might sound, the word has not necessarily gotten out all over the state, and that had to happen. We are ahead of the game in terms of making sure that we are already preparing our curriculum by creating, last summer we created our second standards aligned unit so that we can go through, we can teach the unit, and then we can make whatever adjustments that we have that always happen when we teach something for the first time. Of course, we're continuing to provide professional development on all aspects of the standards, because they really are far more a pedagogical and instructional shift rather than a content shift. So we need to change the way we're teaching science so that we are involving our students a lot more and making them do a lot more of the thinking, so that this will become something that they remember and continue on as they go through the different courses. This year we implemented AP Environmental Science as well as a physics elective course, because we really want our students to leave high school with a physics experience, because without it, it really limits what you can potentially do later on if you decide you were going to change your major somewhere along the line in college.
I have a student, this is first year for the environmental piece. Kudos to your teacher. He couldn't said enough. He said this is the first year, we're all excited. She knows his textbook back and forth. He raved about the class. He said, very appreciative that we're all doing that now.
Thank you, I will pass that on. We created our third standards aligned unit this year. And of course, when we're doing this, we're also making sure that we're teaching the students what they need to know for the Regents exam, because some things have shifted from the standards, the new standards, to what we're previously working with. Of course, continuing professional development. These standards are focused on students looking at solving problems and understanding and figuring out phenomenon, and also designing assessments for the three-dimensional learning, which is the hallmark of the new standards. Of course, we always look at our assessment data, and I will tell you that as soon as the teachers see the Regents, they already are looking at it to determine what they can do differently in the previous year, in the next year. New York State Ed is in the process of getting together course maps, because the new standards list a physical science without breaking it out separately into chemistry and physics. And so one of the things that they needed to do is figure out what's going to be taught and tested in a physics course and in a chemistry course, and they're supposed to be releasing those maps, I'm hoping this winter. We did get a preview of them at the State Ed meeting in September, so they should be coming out soon.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Margaret Rona. I'm the Director of Social Studies and Business, and I'm here tonight to present the Social Studies results for this year.
Right?
Thank you. These are the Social Studies results for the Regents exams. We have the U.S. history and the global history. This is the first year of the transition Regents. Unlike the other disciplines, Social Studies started their new standards in 2014. And the state has been slowly changing not only the curriculum but the assessment piece. So this year they rolled out the first transition exam for global history, which only included 10th grade curriculum. In the past they had included 9th and 10th. It proved very, very challenging for our ENL population, our special education population in particular. So this year was the first year they did the 10th grade only. You can see the results have maintained and been very consistent over the last 3 years. It's a lot of work, 6 through 12, and we certainly appreciate the help from elementary schools and helping students understand a lot of economic concepts and geography. These are the mastery rates for U.S. history and for global history. We've seen a significant increase in the global history. We did drop a little in the U.S. history, but the test had changed. They are starting to actually try and pilot some of these questions to see how the students will do. They are anticipating that the global history Regents, the new Regents, will be rolled out in 2020. The U.S. history Regents won't be rolled out until 2021, but they'll be able to that year, those two. These are AP results. You can see we do quite a few AP exams at the high school. AP World, AP European, AP United States History, AP Macroeconomics, AP Government and Politics, and AP Psychology. The results, again, are pretty similar and standard over the 3 years. Some of the goals that the department has had is to certainly increase the number of students that are passing the exams, also getting a lot of the 12th graders to participate because some of them have their colleges already selected and they may not need the additional credit or be able to receive AP credit in those colleges. So really proud of the work that the department has been doing on these exams. This is just an overview of what we've been doing in social studies the last 2 years. In 2017-18, there was curriculum writing in grades 4, 5, and 6. We did professional development, talk about some of the curricular changes for the framework. We had a professional development day for the AP United States history teachers, which is the largest number of AP exams that we did in the department. We did analysis, of course, of the assessment data from the prior year. This summer, we did a tremendous curriculum writing. Thank you to the board and superintendent of schools and Mr. Milliman for giving us the time and the resource to be able to do that. We did curriculum writing in grades 3, 7. We did AP Microeconomics, which is a new course for us. AP Human Geography, which is a new course. The AP Government and Politics course changed, so we rewrote that curriculum, and we rewrote curriculum for an elective called Urban Studies. This year, we have 2 teachers that are implementing the new AP Human Geography and AP Microeconomics. The students that are taking the microeconomics are taking it as a micro-macro course, so they will actually take 2 AP exams at the end of this year for both micro and macroeconomics. So we're really excited about those students wanting to take on that challenge. We are, of course, doing professional development on social studies practices, the use of inquiry, and certainly the changes in New York State Regents assessments. They did just recently give us new data on the global geography and history exam, and they anticipate giving us additional in March. And then we analyze the data from this year.
That's pretty impressive. I actually took a micro-macro. It's very
It is.
hard. Very hard.
Yes, I'm very happy to have the staff working on that. Thank you so much. I'm going to introduce Ms. Annalee, who's going to tell you about the enrollment.
Thank you.
I'm the short one of the group. Good evening. I'm Denise Hanley, the Director of World Languages and ENL, and I am very proud to present data on the FLACS exams for this year. So, just to give you a little bit of background, the FLACS exams came about 6 or 7 years ago when New York State eliminated the Regents exams in foreign languages. So the FLACS organization, which I am proudly a board member of, had started creating their own exams. They had people from administrators and teachers from districts all over Long Island created items for these exams, and it has grown over the past 6 years, where now we are up to about 275 districts statewide that use FLACS exams. So they are valid and reliable. We've done analyses with the data that we've received over the years, and we're really proud of the exams and are looking forward to continued growth with them. As you can see by the percent passing, our teachers we have a great department from grade 7 to 12. The participation rate of kids staying in languages through 12th grade is great. Again, really proud of that. So the percent, I can't speak any more than practically 100% over the past 3 years have passed. So the mastery rate as well. So we as a FLACS organization collect data from districts after they give the exam. It's not collected by New York State. The organization does it. So not all districts submit data, but many districts do. And so this is the analysis of how our district has done over the past 3 years. This past year, 70% mastery rate in French. As compared with the data that we have, I have a 56% rate statewide for those who have given FLACS exams. The Italian mastery rate is 70%, and overall it's 63% statewide. And Spanish, 78% mastery rate, and we have data that shows a 56% statewide. So again, our numbers are growing every year with districts that would like to give the FLACS exams. We field test them, they're vetted by New York State, and we're hoping that one of these years soon they will take over our Regents exams and we'll get our Regents exams back. But in the meantime, these are as valid as an exam as a Regents, and students, when they take this exam, can earn the Advanced Regents Diploma. So once they pass the Platts level exams, the Platts B level, students have the opportunity to take college level courses. So as you can see, we have the average grades for each of the language courses that we offer at the college level, steadily above 91 as an average grade. So we offer St. John's, Italian, French, and Spanish, and then a Syracuse University Spanish class. So again, very proud of those results, and it's a culmination of the work that teachers have done from 7th grade on. So I'm happy to present that to you all today.
Thank you, thank you.
Sure. And so over the past year, we've done curriculum writing. We've introduced the new Spanish textbook last year called Avancemos. We did some curriculum writing with that from grade 7 to 12. This coming summer, we are going to just revisit to make sure that we're aligning properly. And I have some days planned for teachers to meet and to talk about how the curriculum moves from grade level to grade level. I've also done some technology PD for world language teachers using the assistance of Victoria Pappas. I have some really involved language teachers that love using technology and trying new things in the classroom, including Google Classroom. And I had one teacher accompany us on a Google workshop recently to get some professional from on that. So I'm, really proud to present all of this to you. This coming summer, we're looking to do more curriculum writing, working with science and social studies teachers to move a little bit more towards the E&L side and aligning what teachers are teaching in the content area classes with how E&L students learn and succeed, and continuing PD with world language practices and standards, and analyzing. I just shared the data with the middle school teachers today and the high school teachers last week. I told them all that they should be very proud of that as well. So I wanted to thank the board and Dr. Adams and Mr. Millman for their support with world languages. We're looking forward to some exciting times ahead. Thank you all.
Thank you. Thank you.
Can I pause to see the recognition of the children at this moment, Mr. Millman?
Mine is really important. Just kidding. Yeah.
Probably has 20,
You just
don't we?
added a new
I know.
slide in.
Probably has
It wasn't long enough, so I added one.
How many slides is it?
3.
3.
I'll do it quick, I
Okay, you
promise.
have 3 minutes.
So we have the New York State assessment results. I won't go to the clicker. It's really hard to project anything or identify anything. We have a large percentage of our population that opts out of the exam for a variety of reasons. I think last year we were about 78% of our students who refused to sit for the exam. So to get the assessment result to make any sort of kind of analysis on it is very difficult. Also because they changed the exam last year from the year before to last year, making it only a 2-day exam. So it's very difficult to grapple any information out of those. One thing we are proud about is the work that we're doing from a curriculum standpoint, K through 12. You saw some of the exciting results that we have at the high school. We have several multi-year initiatives going on at the elementary level in literacy, K through 8 in literacy, mathematics, social studies and science. We have a new computer science and engineering program that's going on in our elementary schools. So we're really excited about that work, and the baseline of our foundational skills that we want to embed for our students moving upwards, and we'll start to see the benefits of that work. And I want to thank our instructional staff, who does an amazing job every single day with all the initiatives that they have going on. No one has killed me, put anything underneath my car or taken me out, but they have been incredibly welcoming to all of the changes that we've been making over the past number of years, and I want to thank them, as well as our directors and building principals. The work has been amazing. It's been heavy lifting, but you know the benefit is the work our students are producing. So we're really excited.
Through the math slides, we've all seen that you're not improving children.
Math. We do have a higher mastery rate in math, so I don't want to say anything about that. But that's it. Thank you very much.
All right, just scoot in, fill in, because I'm about to take you all to the front here, because I'm so excited that you're here today.
All right, you guys have to come all the way around. I know, it's terrible. Yeah, this keeps going.
Okay, some of you come in the middle. Come on.
They never do.
Come on in. I'm about to call everybody's names, so come on in. Come on in. It'll be a quicker walk.
Oh, yeah, right there, we're done.
So thank you all for coming tonight. This has become a really exciting night for the board and for myself to recognize excellence, perfection actually, in education. So you're all here because you have amazing teachers and you've worked really hard and you've all gotten at 100 on at least one state level assessment. The board challenged me a few years ago to really celebrate educational excellence. And I said, well, how about a Superintendent's 100 Club, where anyone who got 100 on a Regents exam comes on up and you become part of the Superintendent's 100 Club. And I think the first year we had maybe 15 kids in that Superintendent's 100 Club. And now I want you to just look around the room, because you guys are educational perfection right there. You are our future. So I am so excited to be able to call your name, shake your hand, and this is always the board president, to say thank you so much for how hard you worked. You should go back and thank the teacher who really helped make that happen as well. And really the truth is, we are so excited and so proud of you and what you have become. So thank you all for coming tonight. I'm going to call your name, and I'm going to say what Regents you got 100 on. I'm going to ask you to stay up here at the end so that we can take a group picture with everybody who has achieved this amazing goal. So Christopher Batista, 100 on the English Language Arts Regency. Jeremy U.S. History and Government Regents exam. Andrea Brzeit, 100 on the Global History Regents exam.
Timothy Chiavarella. Chiavarella, I was close.
Very close. Laurel Edwards, 100 on the Global History Regents exam. Olivia Esposito, 100 on the English Language Regents exam. Nicholas Banderos, 100 on the U.S. History and Government Regents exam. Ava Galante, 100 on the Global History Regents exam. Sebastian Javea, 100 on the Global History Regents exam. Megan Hughes, 100 on the English Language Arts Regents exam. Nicholas Menino, 100 on the English Language Arts Regents exam. James Marin, 100 on the Global History Regents exam. Lucas Martino, 100 on the Physical Setting Earth Science Regents exam. Azalea McAdam, 100 on the Physical Study Chemistry Regents exam. Michelle Muscolo, 100 on the U.S. History and Government exam. Jacqueline Smiley, 100 on the English Language Arts Regents exam. Aiden Smith, 100 on the Global History Regents exam. Haley Smith, 100 on the English Language Regents Arts exam. Okay, so we have 3 that got 2 100s. Hassan Ahmed, 100 on the English Language Arts and 100 on the U.S. History and Government. Dylan Maseko, 100 on the English Language Arts exam and 100 on the Physics exam. Amanda Perone, 100 on the New York State Global History and the Chemistry Regents exam. Okay. We were just lucky enough to hear how great you kids do on everything. And 100% of our students passed all of the flat checkpoint B exams last year. 100%, no matter if they took it in Spanish, Italian, French. Am I forgetting one? Nope. Okay. 100% of the kids in Connecticut schools passed the class exam. Please give them a round of applause. So these are the folks that got 100 on that exam. Syed Afghan, 100 on the Spanish B exam. Jeremy Bertolet, 100 on the Italian B exam. Leon Shen, 100 on the French B exam. Vipro Das got 100 on the Spanish B exam. Elena Drennan, 100 on the Italian B exam. Janelle Boston, 100 on the Spanish B exam. Sebastian Javea, 100 on the French B exam. Megan Lenahan, 100 on the Spanish B exam. Madeline Pittiger, 100 on the Italian B exam. Anna Polsini, 100 on the Italian B exam. Juan Ramirez, 100 on the Italian B exam. Kelly Raimondi, 100 on the Italian B exam. Olivia Schneider, 100 on the Spanish B exam. Nicole Saravia, 100 on the Spanish B exam. Thank you. I wrote Spanish. Nicole Thuman, 100 on the Spanish B exam. And Ryan Waters, 100 on the Spanish B exam. All right, all come together so we can get one big picture. This is our future, and it sure looks bright, doesn't it, folks? Give them all around the
I don't have a certificate for you. Why'd you get 100 on it now?
English.
Come
English
on up.
reasons. Don't have a certificate?
I don't, but we'll get you one.
All right, everyone try to turn to their side and slide in as close as possible.
All right, we have to. Short by in front. Come on, you know who you are. We know by the stage how short you are too.
No, you're, wait, I'm considered being short. I think you're the one that's cheating.
It's okay.
I also have to announce Ray Carter Jr., who got 100 on the English literature exam. We gotta do the tilts, no? The choral tilts.
Yeah.
There we go, choral tilts.
Move in, you can slide in. Have one slide in the front and slide to get in more. One person will step to the side. Alright, everybody stay right there. We're gonna do phone cues.
On the phone, doesn't matter. Equipment, yeah.
Your Manachi has to teach you to do
The stitches.
Alright, ready? Everybody stay nice and still. Thank you.
And one more round of applause.
Don't worry. I'm busting your job.
That's my job.
Let's go home. I've got a calculate. Spend an hour and a half looking at the goals. Look at everything
Thank you all for coming tonight.
I'm not sure.
what ones am I getting?
Don't say that. No, we're seeking them because
Yes. Welcome.
Can you make them skinny?
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, we're on the capital project financing.
Yes. I'd like to introduce to you Michael Lugercio. He's with our financial planning advisors. Michael Lugercio. He is the president of Munistat Services.
Good evening, everybody. I'm here to talk about how to finance your capital projects. One of the things that we basically focus on is the debt and trying to develop the structure of the debt so it impacts, there's minimal impact on the tax rate. Okay. What's very difficult about this, though, is that there's several factors, okay? The one factor is state aid. The district has a good sized state aid ratio of basically almost 68%. The problem with state aid, though, is it's very difficult. It's a long process to get approved, and then once approved, the projects now, what they changed was that you have to get the final cost reports in. So it's very difficult to align the state aid with the debt service coming in, okay? We do our best to do that. One of the ways that we do that is to issue bond anticipation notes. I don't know if anybody's aware, basically a bond anticipation note is a one-year note and we use that to do startup costs, okay? We use that to kind of defer the debt service a little bit by skipping a principal payment. One thing you have to remember is that once you start to borrow, you have to make a principal payment within 24 months. Okay, so a lot of times it's difficult. Usually when you're making that first principal payment, the state aid hasn't come in yet, so it's difficult to align those two things. Another thing, so we do the bond anticipation notes, and then after, what happens is, another reason why we do the bond anticipation notes is to make sure we have the final cost of the project, okay? Because what happens is, as I was saying before, we have startup costs, all right? And you don't want to borrow too much. You don't want to put anything for long-term financing until you know the exact amount that you need to finance. So usually what happens is we start out with a bond anticipation note, and usually we could stay in the bond anticipation notes up to 5 years. So once we do that, we'll probably, usually most of these projects takes about, I would say, between 1 and 3 years to complete. And once they're completed, we know the final cost of these projects. We move those into long-term financing, just like we did with the last project. We just did a bond issue for the district in September. We closed out the $14 million project on that one. So, and I have to say, you got excellent rate on that. Again, that was under 3%. So, those are the two major things that we, between the bond anticipation note and the long-term financing, and we try to work the state aid to align all the debt service, but it's a very difficult task to get that done. But those are the, excuse me, that's what we try to align. And those are the tools that we have to complete this. Now, one of the other things that we have to do is, we have to sell this to the public, okay? So we have to sell the bonds to the public. And how we do this is we do an official statement. If you look on the packet that I gave you on the last handout, on the bottom of it is yeah, it's the last one. That was the last bond issue that we did. So in order to sell these, we have to do an actual official statement, okay? And the official statement basically has the structure of the bond issue. It has legal language in there, a lot of boilerplate legal language. It has the demographics of the district. It has finances of the district. In the back, I don't have it in there because I was trying to save paper. We have the audit that's in the back there also that goes out to the public. And how we sell it is we put this together with the help of the district staff, financing staff. We do a bond council, and we put this document together. And once we have it together, we have a mail date, a bid date, and a close date. So basically what happens is we put this document together, we mail it out. About 2 weeks later, we have a bid date, and we do everything on a competitive basis. There is no negotiated sales. Local finance law, you have to do it on a competitive basis when basically anything over $5 million. Whoever has, on the bid date, whoever has the lowest net interest cost on that date will win the bid. And on this one that we did we bid in September was Hutchison, Shockey, and Early. They won. That was the underwriter that purchased the bonds. And then about 2 weeks later, we have the closing. So that's the process. Okay. Now, again, one of the things is that you have to have all your ducks lined up in a row, okay? It's very difficult, the process of state aid. I'm just gonna go back to state aid. A lot of times, if you don't have the state aid approval, again, your work has to be done, but I would say probably the majority of the work gets done over the summertime, okay? So, if you get state aid approval in January, usually we're waiting to borrow until sometime in the summer when the projects actually start. So, that's how the process works, is by, once we prepare the stock bin and send it out. One of the other things, when we do this, as you can see, on the top right-hand corner there, one of the things you should be very proud of the school district is your credit rating. Okay, it's a AA2. There's only 2 notches higher than the AA2 rating. The finances are very solid in the district. We have to, every time we do a bond issue, basically anything over $1 million, we have to get a rating. So again, we work with the staff. Sharon is excellent here. She's excellent on the conference call. We coordinate the conference call with the Moody's. Right now, the district is using Moody's as their primary rating agency. And again, that AA2 rating is very high, and it's an excellent rating, which allows you to borrow money at lower rates. And again, the process is not easy. It takes a lot to get prepared for the conference call, and the finance department does a great job with that. So on the call, just to let you know, who's on usually sometimes bond counsel, the financing department of the district, and us are on the conference call. So again, we get it done, and the AA2 rating is an excellent rating. I'm not sure where you are in the process. Does anybody have any questions as far as the capital project itself?
I have a question about the bands.
Okay.
So you said that we can hold them up to 5 years. We can have bands up to 5 years.
Correct.
State ed.
Yes, you could stay in bands up to 5 years.
And aren't the band rates higher than the bond rates?
It depends. Right now usually the band rates are lower.
Are they really?
Yes, usually they are a little lower.
But not now though, right?
Well, that spread between the bands and the bonds are still a little higher. Because what happens is you're going out longer on the bonds.
Right.
So that spread is pretty small. Okay, between usually, like now, you could be going for the band, say 2.5. And the bond issue, we just sold something for like a little over 3. A little over 3%. So it was a 20-year issue that we did. We had one of the school districts today we sold. It was a 20-year issue. It was 3.8.
So do we automatically do the bands for 5 years, or do we start at a year and then see where we are then?
Usually what happens, right, when we do the bands, usually we do them for, we go out for a year, and then we decide where we are. We look at it and say, okay, how much longer is this project going to take? Do we have the final cost reports? Are they ready to go or not? So we analyze the project after that year, and if we have
We
to...
may not have the final cost reports, we may not be able to even get a bond.
Well, you don't need, yes, correct. So you may be waiting for, you don't have to have the final cost reports to actually do the bond. You just have to have all your costs and know what they're going to be. Okay, the final cost reports can be done while after you went to long-term financing.
Oh,
But you just have to make sure you have your costs together for the project.
thank you.
You have any other questions? No? John, any? Or?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Wait, I have one more
Oh,
question. When do
sure.
we get this document?
I'm sorry, what?
In what stage of the process do we get this document?
Oh, that document is when we're ready to go long-term financing. Or we also have to do that document for a bond anticipation note. So when we're ready to borrow, basically what would happen is when the work's getting ready to be done, Sharon would give me a call and say, okay, we need the money in a month and a half or 2 months. We need a little time to prepare the document and get everything in order. So it would usually take about a month and a half, depending. A band's usually shorter, we can do that in a month. A bond, usually because of obtaining the rating and a little extra work in the bond issue, we may need a month and a half to 2 months just to get that done, to make it comfortable with the process, you know, so we're not rushing anything. But basically, when we're ready to borrow, that's when we start putting the document together.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Capital project finalization, adoption. So, which John is taking the stand?
So, as the board and the community is aware, we've presented multiple times about the capital project, potential capital project. At this point, the piece for myself is knowing whether or not there are any additional questions that I can answer or whether or not the architect can answer. Beyond that, I think it's just a conversation for the Board of Education at this point to see what the next steps are.
So I was just doing some research, and I think you presented to this board starting July 24th. Am I
So,
something like that? Yeah.
There was a presentation back in July, there was also one in March, there was one in December of last year as well. So there's been multiple conversations at that point. It's evolved over time. It has.
However, I just have to say that we went to see a library today, Bayport Woodport, a new modern library, and you have to lunch, you see all these kids. I don't know, just come marching in, and they all go wherever they want to go, and they have it where this little kids' room, it's the center of their school. And they all just got involved in their own thing in small groups and larger groups. No, they had no teacher overseeing what they were doing. They didn't have really quite the old-fashioned library. They were very respectful. And they ate their lunch, and all of a sudden there they were, you know, which is something new for that building. The kids take ownership. Where the books are stacked in elementary, as they were explaining, the kids can see them. All the old books that were there and no one paid attention to because they just put it together were slowly removed by the librarian. There's now the feature books and the kids are more apt to take them out. It was really impressive. And I personally call it the Google one because it was open, airy, clean, fresh, and different areas where they can all, and you saw them going, one went to a choir room to take a test. The little choir, it was open, but it was a little quiet space, and there were a couple of those. That was interesting. Another group went behind us, this one area, a large group actually went there, but there were different groups sitting at different tables. Another couple went to this one area. Just, it was nice to see what really was going on. Not just talk about, to see it was really worthwhile.
Yep. Sure.
I just want to add one, it definitely featured lighting, which was very complimentary to the area, and I thought that added a nice appeal. But just the makerspace furniture, I think, which I believe the flexible seating, the makerspaces,
multiple options for multiple formats.
Absolutely. And that one piece of furniture, well, I love the circular desk for the library. I think that was definitely a step up or 3 or 10 from what we currently have now. But the half circle, where the kids was almost like seating, and it was very comfy there. That was another area those children kind of went to also. So they had a lot of areas in there. And one of the things, help remind me, they liked it because not a lot of children, this is what they chose for the recess, so instead of going outside, they chose this.
This is the lunch,
Right, correct.
they came from their lunch, they ate their lunch, and all of a sudden you see them coming. They always seemed to know where they were going. And one boy, actually the first boy that came, he saw a bunch of adults there. He turned around to leave, and was called back by the principal, and he was welcome. But they just take ownership, it's theirs, they're proud of it. It's their space, and they do what they want, and what they do is respected. That's how I see it.
The other piece that Lee and I really truly appreciated was, what they said, 80 kids stayed after school, right?
They say after school, there there's usually approximately 80 kids that go there every day, and they have more supervision, and they have to limit the kids that want to come in the morning.
Well, no, it's the afternoon.
No, they have kids that come in before school.
Right.
And kids that come in, any kids. We give them sports for millions of dollars. People off the street, we give them music for millions of dollars to keep them off the street. Now we give them their library. And it's their library, and they do it. 80 kids, a lot of kids. They come in there after school's out. That's a lot of kids. So that is impressive. And these kids, God forbid, you say drugs happens to the best of kids. This is just another avenue to keep them safe, and they want to be there. So I really would like to see them after school, and just for the fun of it, what they do. I think they make friends there. Kids that probably are bullied probably go there to have their one friend. I can see so many different reasons why, but it's such an open atmosphere, and no one's saying, shh, you can't do this or you can't do that. But no one's screaming, they're all respectfully talking. That's what I see.
Yeah, I was very impressed. They had nice sight lines, it was very current.
And when you went moms with these young kids, you grow into that, you realize the way this world is going, what a wonderful thing to happen. And it's not about opening the book. It's about working together collaboratively. Friends being together. I heard one kid say, I want to be in my place. Ridiculous thing they have pledge made to her little group and came. So I think there's every advantage to this noticing.
The other thing that I noticed that the principal was very prideful that this is our home, he started Central Public, our school. And I couldn't agree more. It was a really nice place for kids to come and, come together and I can't say enough. I think we
The sixth grade parents, they had, it wasn't finished school started, so they had windows covered. And the parents, sixth grade parents, would look at and make our kids go in there. I'm not even kidding what we were told. Bring our kids go in there. They were so excited that their kids had the opportunity of going through what is 21st century. So all around it was a win-win.
It definitely was successful for Big Hope, there's no doubt about it. I think, one of the nice things about everything we're talking about within this capital project is we're not leading the way. We're not reinventing the wheel. We have the opportunity to learn what other districts are doing, what other districts are doing successfully, incorporate into the spaces we have, and build upon it as well. So I think there's a lot of strengths. We're not trying to do things that are so far out of the box that it's not attainable. But it was definitely a prideful moment for the principal over there. And I agree. All the statements you say about the students that were utilizing the space, you can see that they felt welcome, and you can see it was very natural and warm space. So to your points.
Now, you had mentioned the library that you guys were very impressed by.
I have not been to St. John's the Baptist.
Yes.
That was a visit to Dinkum, I believe.
Yeah, we were there, the committee that we had put together, which was a bunch of our librarians, building administrators, and merch administrators, we went to visit St. John's Baptist to see their project. Theirs was in the works for about, I think, 10 years of planning this project, and we were there probably around third or fourth period, and there had to be at least 150 students in the library. They have a flexible classroom space with a glass wall that folds, which is pretty cool. But they have classroom going on in there. They have their science research center as part of their library, which is interesting. Innovation space that they have. A media wall where students were presenting their projects to their classmates, as well as just an area where students were just collaborating and interacting. And again, the flexible seating makes a huge difference for our students. We think of our classrooms that look the same as 1920s, our desks in rows, and I think as we start to look at what colleges are moving towards and what some of our local businesses and larger institutions are moving towards, is that area where people can innovate together and share ideas, and those are the spaces that we're trying to create. So if you'd like to go back, I'm more than happy to reach out to them to see what a high school setting looks like, and kind of experience what the kids experience.
Great, thank you.
Were there any other questions pertaining to the project as proposed by the facility committee?
I don't have any questions.
John, you sent me a spreadsheet earlier that I asked for, because originally, I got a couple of emails sent to me about the original projects, and it was $9.5 million, bias $28 million worth of purchasing power, and then you did send me that, the spreadsheet that gave us the $35 billion. And the emails that I got though, and I believe you got them as well, from some people.
I received two members of the committee.
Right.
Expressed
And then I
concern
got
about
one from another member of the committee.
Okay.
Basically saying the same thing about, the $28 million, and then how things were added on kind of at the end, and I'll give you the wording that they said, it wasn't my wording. Some things were added late to the bond last spring at a suggestion from administration or the board at the meeting prior. And I don't think Dean was giving an opportunity to sell it to us, although he did come prepared. We did get a compliment there, Dean. Estimates were collected, and this addition to the bond was automatically added. This was the largest want of the bond and did not go through the review process like the rest of the want items. So I think that was one of the concerns from the same three people, from those three people, that it wasn't vetted, it was just added on. I know there was a couple more discussions about adding on more things, so I just wanted to know why that wasn't vetted the way the rest of it was. Because I wasn't on the facilities committee, I don't know.
Sure, understood. So when the capital reserve was created 2 years ago, the facility committee was established and we started conversations with the objective of trying to get to a project.
Right, I got that original.
Right, that was approximately $30 million, slightly less actually.
Yeah.
When we started that process, we went through the process of starting priority 1, 2, and 3s, just to get a starting point with the conversation, try to gauge how the facility committee responded to the requests that were made by the various building administration. We had never reached the point of the $28.5 million.
No, was that 30?
36, I believe it was.
34, I believe.
34, 36. Now we're in a priority 1 position at that
35
point?
to 77, yeah.
Okay, so.
Well, they all got added on to, no, this one's still split, 1s and 2s.
Correct, but I think the column 1, wasn't that still 30-something million? And then there was another $12 million for priority 2s?
You might have split it up, but it's not split on here.
Is it on the last
This
page?
is not from you, this is from an actual.
Okay, understood. So, last December, which is the document that the spreadsheet that I wrote to you, I believe.
The one right after this.
Okay.
Yeah.
So there was a conversation at the last year's December meeting with bond council talking about the debt service that would be coming off in future years, and what that could potentially add to the project as far as purchasing power.
Right, I got an email about that as well, and what they said was, off the books is $19.5 million in 2021, $18.6 million in 2022, 2023. That's $38.1 million total in 2 to 3 years, and then we were going to replace it with another $33 million. So I guess my question is, wouldn't that help the taxpayers leaving it off? Instead, we added back up to go to $46 million instead of the $33 million.
So with every scenario,
Question that I got.
with every scenario, there's a pro and con. We have capital reserve, and we have debt service coming off, and we have capital needs. The library piece of it was not vetted to the same extent. That being said, you know, the information was available, and the majority of the people in the room did consent about bring that forward to the Board of Education. We did not have consensus, we did not have unanimous vote at all. But the information that they heard and that the information they were provided was enough to get at least consent to go to the Board of Education. To your point, it was not discussed to the same extent. Partially because it's a lot harder to fit a project into a $28 million project than potentially a $48 to $50
Because we
million.
had the $35 million, and it looked like you had a lot of good things on the $35 million. So I guess I'm confused as to how it went from 35 million, where we would actually kind of stay even, and then we added it back up to 46.2. It's actually 46.6, I think now, right?
46, yeah.
John,
Yes.
John, can you please answer, she asked the question, how is this money not going back to the taxpayers?
No, that's not what I asked, Lee. So what I asked was, how did we jump from 33 million to 46 million? And was that to keep it steady? Because it'll actually drop the bond, the debt service payment, if we didn't go up to the 46.6.
If we do not go up to the full 46.2 and we don't use the debt service that's coming off in 2021, you're absolutely correct.
Right.
The question then becomes, you know, we have the ability to do capital work at little to no cost to the taxpayer, or we can then turn around and look at that debt service and see how that's redistributed back into the budget.
Right, so we could use that money that came off. The questions that I got was, why aren't we using that money for more programs and services rather than to keep our budget line the same then? Or debt service for some things that weren't needed? So I guess that's the question that some people wanted to answer.
Well, I can't answer, I mean, it would be wrong for me to try to answer for the entire committee. I can do my best to try to recall the committee's wishes, and I believe that the recommendation I made is a fair representation of that. There are certainly people who felt that certain items should not be included. I've shared that, I've never made any bones about that.
I didn't say that.
No, I'm just saying, I just want, this is for the entire community as well.
That's why I pointed out somebody.
Absolutely. So, I mean, it's really a question of perception. Like I said, I don't want to speak for everybody else. It was an evolution. I mean, I can't tell you that on March 15th, a conversation took place and
I don't expect you.
but it was an evolution.
So the evolution that, I guess my issue and what these 3 emails that I got said was that the issue was that it wasn't really an evolution. It was kind of like, okay, we talked to the bond service people and keep the budget line the same, we could go up to 46 more million, so let's throw some stuff on. And I think that that's the problem that some people are having, and frankly, that it's an issue for me too.
Okay. Well, I would have to go back to the board meeting last December because I believe we had the board's authorization at that moment, at that time, to go forward with a larger project of that amount.
Yeah.
And that information carried forward to the committee, and then they started looking at additional projects and additional,
So
as
now
things
it's to
came
keep
forward.
the budget line the same instead of going down.
Correct, absolutely.
Okay.
Well,
That's my question.
didn't you say that $2.5
That's my
million?
question. Okay.
I'm asking, does $2.5 million come up? You mentioned something about that?
I don't know where 2.5 came from. So the debt service piece of it is 1.9. And the only piece that I would say about the 1.9 is that the debt service is also a state aid complement to that. So whatever that ratio is, we have to figure out. So it's not 1.9 that would actually go back to the taxpayers. It's that delta between what that debt service is and what the state aid offset is. So, using the 70% or 65% blended rate, whatever it is, it's about 1.3 in state aid. So it's about $600,000 as far as the delta. As best I could tell, as best I could tell.
Right. And if we don't put a bond out, how would we get some of these things done? I know, if we didn't, I mean, I've been here for a $99 million bond that the taxpayers did pay for. There's still an awful lot in this district that, you know, after 20 years, you don't see it, but it's here. I can say if we never did a bond, or never did multiple bonds, which the ones after that were no cost to the community, if we didn't do any of those, we would have the worst building,
Well, I think it's
building in
a bond.
downtown Chicago. That's what we would look like. But because I believe the board and administration is doing the right thing and doing it in a way where it doesn't cost the community any more money than the initial
$9 million.
$9 million. I think it's a win-win for this community.
I think to answer your question, what would happen is much of the work, over time would have to occur. The difference would be, it would be a capital project, and therefore we wouldn't end up getting the state aid that's associated.
So you have to put in the budget to do this, and you can't, no one can afford it. No, I can't.
There's at least $39 million that you first came up with, though, 36 million, I'm sorry, that you first came up with on that sheet that you gave me,
Okay.
that, for that bond, that had all those repairs in it, correct?
So, yes.
The things that absolutely have to get done, there's no doubt about it, and we want the state aid with it.
Well, every single item on that list is an interpretation.
I'm talking about boilers, I'm talking about things that have to get done to run a school district. I mean, let's face it, libraries are wonderful to do, but if we don't have a library, we can still run a school district. If we don't have a boiler, that's gonna be a problem.
Understood, and you're talking about absolutes. The boilers at Slocum,
That's what I'm talking about.
the boilers
It's
at Slocum
absolutes.
needed to be done for the past 10 years and they weren't addressed. So, to your point, nothing needs to be done. We can close up shop and not do anything at all.
These repairs don't need to be done?
I believe they do.
We don't need to do
I
all that.
believe they do.
Okay.
But
We
my
don't need
point
professional
is,
development
it depends on what your tolerance
I'm
is
sorry, I
for
didn't
risk.
hear you.
It depends on what your tolerance is for risk, because we have things in there that they're never gonna become a problem. It's possible. Do we have something that could become a problem between now and 2 years from now when the voters approve it and S&D approves it? Absolutely. I don't have a crystal ball.
No, I know.
When I look at the facility side of stuff, I try to take the things that, one, are extremely costly for the district to address. We talked about this example in here. This floor is a perfect example. It's a 9x9 tile. This tile is in good shape. It's asbestos. I don't know if there's going to be a problem with this tile in the next 5 years. I don't know if there's going to be a problem in the next 15 years. But the moment there's a problem with this tile, and I have to go and replace 4, 5, 6 tiles in here and do a temporary abatement instead of doing the whole thing, it's going to cost me as much to do it that way as it would to do the entire project as a capital and get the state aid. So but my point is, it's a question of your appetite for risk. We don't have to do this work. It's just a matter of personal perception as to what the priority is. That's all.
I know. But an asbestos, we can all admit, would be an issue if something happened.
If something happened, we would do the work.
Right.
Sure, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Any other questions?
I think you did a great job. I think the committee did a great job. I think that especially our elementary children have a lot to look forward to. And parents, you'll be surprised at what you'll get out of, some of the things that will really respond. There are things that are necessities, but there's no way can we afford to go forward to 2001, next century, if we don't make some of these changes. We'll be behind. And I'll reference the library because I was there today. It is not a library as we know it.
Wait, that was a middle school library?
That was a middle school library. It's not, it's a
Did you
library.
take pictures?
No, actually I didn't. But they're offering other camps there, so you should go.
No,
As soon as I can.
What are they doing at elementary? They're doing it this summer?
They're doing 2 of their 3 elementary schools this summer. Yeah.
And to vote on something that's not going to cost you any more money for the future of your children and all children to come, it's going to cost the same if you did a $20, $30 million bond, and if you a $60 million bond. No more. So why would we take the opportunity to get the most bang for your buck for your kids? It's not for me, not for her. You know, our kids are gone, our kids almost gone. The rest of the board, their kids are gone. This is not for us. You know, and I don't do this for us. I do this for you because you have people out here that have kids. And we want them to be competitive, and we're proud. And we want them to be competitive in the future. We don't want them to look at their neighbor and leave behind. What we're doing in this district in terms of professional development is like no other. No other. And you're seeing these grades and within the next 5 years, as your kids blossom, the school district is going to be, when you're so competitive, we continue the pace that we've been taking the last 4 years, 5 years. If we continue that pace, you're going to be very proud to see your children graduate from it. And I say it from the bottom of my heart.
I concur, Lee. John, when you guys spoke at the last meeting, it seems to be a tremendous need of other districts moving in this direction of improvements of their libraries. I mean, you mentioned that so many have. So I'm assuming that if we don't take this opportunity, we're going to be really behind the 8 ball.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I'm doing 6 this summer myself. I'm doing libraries all the time. Libraries, maker spaces, Passions of the Future, you know, those kind of things. I also did, I know the question was raised about splitting the bond between 1 and 2. So I reached out to bond counsel.
Not between 1 and 2. 2 is contingent on 1.
Correct. So it would be two propositions. I reached out to bond counsel, and I also reached out to Syntax, who's the district's PR firm, who do a ton of work on Long Island school districts in terms of helping you pass budgets and bond referendums and those kind of things. They don't have any statistical data in terms of success or failure, but they both said the same thing, which I had said last week. Usually when you split a bond issue, it's for one item, or maybe 2 items, that's really a lightning rod. In any bond I've ever done, it's been a turf field, sports lighting, that kind of thing. They've never seen a district split a bond as a wants or needs, whether it's 30-30 or 20-20 or whatever the numbers are. It's usually been everything and then 1 or 2 items, and then
But I don't think that was discussed either, to pick out certain items. It was just that, when I brought it up at least, I don't know when anybody else has heard, but when I brought it up, it was just to split the bonds, if that was possible. And then Sharon did get that letter to us from bond counsel, and it is possible.
Of course.
So as far as what items to put on the second or the first one, that was not discussed by the board as far as I know.
All I can say is, in terms of bond counsel and the district's PR firm, and I know the point guard for your PR firm is a resident of Connecticut, would never recommend splitting a bond issue in that regard. It would be a one item for 2 items. To their knowledge, no district has ever done something like that in terms of wants or needs or 40, whatever the numbers are. You can... Correct.
So, John, what is it that you hope to accomplish today to get us closer to our next board meeting? Yes.
I have one other question. Why, I think I brought this up, but it costs us $40,000 to have a separate bond vote. And you mentioned last month, I'm sorry, I don't recall the exact answer that you gave. But you said something about why it couldn't be done, or why you didn't want to do it on the May budget vote, which would save us $40,000.
Right, and I also shared how frugal I am in general with everything.
Right.
My biggest concern is the school budget represents the framework for the entire district for the entire year. I would never want to see anything like that jeopardized because of capital law.
Why would that jeopardize it?
Because it is that I think there is statistical information that shows
Budget
that.
and a bond would jeopardize it?
Inevitably, school districts.
Well, John,
Can I just get John to
Oh, I had a statistic.
I just want to get John's answer, if you don't mind.
Well,
Information.
like I said, I don't have it, but I think that's something we could probably find.
John, you highlighted a good point, and it's, just to speak to what you have brought up. You said when you mix a bond and a budget, when people see the 1.5 increase on your budget line, on your budget overall, some people can interpret that as your bond contributed to that increase. Am I often?
No, I do think that that could be, I do
Residents
think
are
that could be
I think they're smart enough.
I think it could be confusing, but that's just my opinion.
So, am I correct in?
Well, we have a PR firm, and we have you guys to all go out and explain the difference, correct? So, it's not like people wouldn't understand. And it would save us $40,000 to implement.
But every other bond, we've never done a bond.
Lee, I've said this a million times, just because it's been done that way in the past, it's the right way. This is $40,000 that we're talking about on top of these millions of dollars.
It is
I'm just
absolutely, it's
curious.
absolutely an option. As we go further along, we run into our inability to get any work done this summer. Single trade work, such as the playground, of which we definitely have a couple that are in serious need of work. We would not be able to do that if we do a May vote. There's no way to get anything up to SED, no way to do the proper bidding process. So we are completely eliminating any chance of doing that as well. My personal opinion is you're confusing the two votes, both of which are important by themselves.
I have a problem with that. That means that you're kind of telling our voters that they're not smart enough to know the difference.
That's not my intention, but I do believe that it's a lot of information. The fact that we've been sharing this information, we've been talking about this information for what amounts to at this point close to years, and we still can't get any
Right, but you're
closer.
talking about a 3-month difference from February to May.
A lot of senior citizens don't go to these meetings, a lot of senior citizens.
Right, but they do go out to vote
They don't
on the
go.
budget.
And they vote no to the budget.
Then they don't, senior citizens don't.
So they don't have the right to vote?
To, civic associations. So they don't have, all the information that's necessary to vote on both. And they get
Ultimately,
scared out of it.
That's a lot, it's overwhelming.
ultimately, that is just my opinion. It's up to the correct board to decide. This is my opinion.
Thanks, John, I appreciate it.
So, Mr. Grillo, in your experience, have you seen this go on a May vote?
Usually Board of Educations have a little bit of a concern in terms of when you have a budget and then you have a bond, perhaps it's a transportation, a board vote, there could be 4 or 5 or 6 different items on the budget. And at some point, and speaking with many board members, they've always said in the past, at some point, the community member may say, I don't know what I'm voting for, but I can't say yes for everything. So I have to say no for something. And when they start to blend that together, that starts to get.
You can get 6 or 7 items. We're talking about a bond
I
and budget.
don't know what your May vote looks like, I don't know, so I'm just taking a guess, but if there's 3 or 4 or 5 items you're saying yes, the community members to vote yes for, they may say no to something, that I'm not sure of.
I have to be honest with you, I voted last year, and there was, on the general election, there was three propositions. And I have to be honest with you, I'm very involved with the civics, and when I got to the booth to vote, even though all the civic meetings I went to, and they spoke about each of the props, I still had to remind myself what was prop 1, okay, was I supposed to vote this way? And then just to throw this on, I'm pretty aware, and I was overwhelmed.
I'm pretty aware, I don't know.
Yeah, I'm a pretty aware person, and I was overwhelmed because it was too much. So for someone who doesn't go to the civic meetings, and they walk into the booth, I was overwhelmed, I'm involved, and they knew about the props. Imagine someone who, just walking in for the first time and actually having to read all of this. It's overwhelming.
Well, that's why we have PR firm, right, and everybody goes to all the meetings, and then we get the information out of the notebook, right, we do all that, and send the mailing out the notebook.
That's all part of the process,
Right,
absolutely.
okay. Say that.
So I have a question. Generally, a board would be in consensus to move forward with a bond referendum, correct? And in order to maximize the success of the vote, they would put forward the one proposition, and not split it. So I'm sorry to put you on the spot, but you probably have a lot of experience with this. What do you normally see as the best way to have a successful vote.
Again, just to reiterate what John was saying, was that most of the time, for whatever reason, the votes are separate from the budget vote. That's what I've been seeing so far. Again, a lot of it has to do with the board and what district you're in. Are you gonna have a problem with voters? I'm not sure. You have to know your district and to see what the voters are, how their feeling is. But I see a lot of districts, I'm working with two right now, and they had a separate vote than on the budget vote. So that seems to be the trend. But again, it's up to the board and it's up to your community. I mean, you know your community the best, whether they can handle the budget vote and the proposition all at one time, Yeah, exactly what you were saying though, it is $40,000. It is something to consider that you're adding that, to it.
And I'm not saying I'm for or against either way, I'm just asking the questions, I'm
Yes.
gonna get all the information.
Right, but that seems to be the trend, is that, the votes are separate.
It's more the conventional wisdom, isn't it?
Yes, again, it's the trend of doing it. Have districts done it on the same vote, and have they passed? Yes, they have. Have they gone down? Yes, they have.
And I
So-
don't like the idea of losing the summer.
Right, that is difficult, like I was saying before, with the state aid and everything like that. The more time you have to get these, to get the plans and specs up to SED, and
How
have,
long will it take an SED then?
John?
So right now, the architects are at 4 to 6 weeks for review.
So 3 months.
The engineers are at 40 to 42 weeks. So anything with mechanical, electrical, plumbing, fire alarm system, it's a 42-week backlog. Now, 2 months ago, the board authorized me to proceed
42
with
weeks
the...
and 3 months doesn't really,
Well, the way
short of
we-
it, it's
The way you
Still a
can
long
package projects together is to maximize your aid and kind of shorten your time at SED, is to split some of the engineering project and some of the architectural projects. So if in that first summer, if there was a bond vote, and whatever we were talking about, either January or February, if there was a bond vote, the first thing you could do for that first summer is do your asbestos floor tiles, your masonry, your playgrounds, and have that done for the summer.
So you can still do that as well now?
Not in Mexico.
Why not?
Because
Say 4 to 6 weeks.
that once you have the vote approved, then you have to design, then you have to submit to SED. Playgrounds are 10-week lead time. So even if on the day after the budget vote, you said we're going to forego aid, we're not going to do any building permits, we're going to order it, you still wouldn't see equipment until September. You lose the first summer.
No, we're not going to forego aid, so.
I would never recommend you forego aid.
So I was just thinking, John, that if you had to market this, and then Sharon has to come in behind you to speak about the budget, you can have people sitting in civics for a 4 or 5 hour meeting. But I think on this itself, it would, this is pretty huge, and you would want the necessary attention brought to this. So then what do? You bring in someone the next day and start talking about your budget?
It's kind of hard to say what's going to happen. I would think that in the same way that we're having these conversations now, I would hope in order for the civics to be well informed, we would have the same conversations as well, and probably a whole lot more. For this sake of the conversation, two of the people at the horseshoe were part of the committee. So anybody in the civics, you're not going to have that. There's going to be a lot of education. It's not going to take place at one sitting. It's going to take place at all.
I agree. That's why I think there should be.
There's a lot more of it. In my opinion, there's a lot more of it than a simple meeting, quick conversation.
And that's why I personally like the idea of putting it on in the February vote, because it gives it the attention that it deserves. There's a lot of components to this that I would never want to see rushed, because we have to talk about this, okay, let's talk about the budget. I just think there was too much time and effort of 22 months, and then just to kind of cram it together with something else. It deserved its own attention. It's just my
That's a good point that Mylan just made. So in order to get the civics up to speed, because they're gonna vote to our civics or all vote our chambers. They live here, they all vote. We have a December meeting and a January meeting, and then you want to vote on this in February, correct? So we would need somebody to come in for both meetings to explain the bond.
Myself available any single night.
Yeah, December, you don't get anybody to come to meetings, so we do it in January, and then if they have more questions, I think February might be more close then. Unless you wait till the end of February, you can get in.
Well, you send a letter out to your people saying to come, it's a very important meeting.
Actually, what generally happens after the board decides the scope of work, the first thing that happens is you meet with your PR firm. And Jen Kiefner, who was pointed out, is a Connecticut resident, and I have had many, many discussions on how quickly we can get out information to our public. We will have literally hundreds of meetings between the day that the board says this is the scope of work and the vote. We will meet at every single one of our facilities. We will do it on the weekends. We will do it at night. We will do it during the day. We will tour people through buildings hundreds of times. To try to do that at the exact same time as we're talking about a budget will have everyone lose focus. So it's not going to be that we're going to show up at one civic meeting or two civic meetings. We're going to invite the public hundreds of times to come and see the facilities and tour them with us. The other thing that will happen immediately after the budget, immediately after the scope is decided, is we will videotape. We will go into the buildings, we will shoot video of the spaces that are going to be amended so people can see what we have now, and we will show line designs and pictures of ideas that we have to make these better spaces for kids, along with the changes that need to happen to the infrastructure and the buildings and facilities. So it's a very big process. And it's not something that honestly you can do at the same time as a budget and give both of them the attention that they deserve. So do I think February is quick? Yeah. We've been talking about this literally for 22 months. The board has spoken about it. We've had presentations every single month that the new board has been paneled. And really at this time, I really need the board to make some decisions as to what the final scope is that is going to go to the public, because we are behind in the ability to sell it to the public and talk to the public. The truth is that it is the job of the board and the administration to say, this is what we support. We want a positive vote because we want a positive outcome for our teachers and our students and our community residents, and we are building for the kids who are currently in utero. Because by the time all the projects are on the ground, those kids will be kindergartners. So we want a positive outcome, and we want to do that the best that we can for this community. So I really need the board to focus on what the scope of work is going to be, because if we are going to vote in February, as suggested February 5th, at the next board meeting, I need to have a referendum that is going to say this is what the proposition is going to read, and we need to start putting together the PR and the whole piece that goes into a vote, including creating ballots and all that kind of good stuff. And we need to do that no later than 45 days from the vote. So next board meeting is it. So we've had multiple discussions. I really need the board to focus and tell me at this point if we have a scope of a project that we can all agree on that's going to move forward with the community.
You're asking me that I am taking the committee's suggestion and to involve everything on one proposition. Lee?
That's how I feel. I think we're ready for a vote for next board meeting. I think everyone on this board knows enough about what's going on, and the decision has to probably be made, yea or nay.
So I'm saying yes, Lee?
Yes.
Eileen?
I'm not voting right now on the.
No, we're not voting.
We're not voting, but you have to.
I don't do anything like that. No, I'm not voting on that right now. I have this other information that I just got tonight. Every meeting I've got new information, and I'd like to.
That's old.
Every meeting I've got new.
That's old information, Eileen.
No, this is brand new. I just got today
What was new?
as an email that I just asked John about.
What was new?
You had that.
I don't know. Review the tape, my Lennon.
Your friend read it last week.
Who?
So the thing is, so.
We mean Terry, the one that you cut off, and I didn't hear all the
You
information?
heard it all, I heard it.
No, I didn't hear it all.
I did, it was on video, I watched
That's all
the whole
right.
video.
Okay, I'm gonna pause this for a second, because
No, no, no.
one of the board goals is that we utilize the community's input through the transparent process that is advisory committees. So we have an advisory committee that met for 22
And I
months.
think the advisory committee did a great job. They came up with some great ideas, and then things were added afterwards, from what I'm hearing.
They were
By-
added
by
in
not
March
by
of
the-
last year, that's
by
not
the
afterwards.
facilities committee. And they weren't vetted, and Dean
I mean,
admitted
we
that
have
to me,
two
so.
gentlemen up here saying
What
that.
do you want me to say? I'm not voting. I mean, you can argue with me all you want. I'm not gonna vote.
I don't vote.
You wanna
Don't
take
vote.
me down again, Marlene? It's God. What do you gotta do? I'm not voting right now.
You know what,
I
Eileen?
wrote and put online.
Yes, Marlene, what
You
now?
know what, you're not gonna push me.
I'm not the one that said I was taking you down.
So the superintendent is asked,
I'm not the one that said I was taking you
No.
down.
yeah, I did say I was gonna take you down.
Yes, you did.
Stop. What does this mean? Totally offended by this. I'm only gonna read the last sentence.
No, you should read the whole thing.
Don't be fooled by rhetoric, propaganda,
Or
or
bombast.
bombast.
That's correct. Read the whole thing. Don't take it out of context. It's
I
on
read the last
transparency in Connect. If
You're
anyone
making,
wants to read it,
what you're saying is,
certainly everyone read it.
excuse me,
Don't excuse me like
I'm
that.
speaking.
Read the whole thing.
what you're saying is, what's
You're
going on is
inferring
rhetoric,
as to what I'm saying. It's on transparency in
propaganda,
Connect.
or bombast.
Anyone can read it.
You're saying, you're making a statement that this is, don't
That's
Don't
fine. I
be
made a statement
fooled.
on, it's on
By
transparency.
rhetoric?
It's not a board meeting.
propaganda, or bombast. What does that mean?
However you want to
Can we
take it.
move on, please?
I mean,
What does that have to do with this bond?
What does that mean?
Okay, so at this point right now, I have 2 votes to move forward with the scope, so at this point, we can't move forward with the scope. So,
No problem. That's the end of it.
Can I ask a question?
Yes.
Well, we have public participation,
we still have one more discussion item, so,
so we have no bond.
at this moment, I don't have a finalization of the scope of the project. I guess we can put it on the next board agenda, however, that moves the budget, the vote potentially from the beginning of February till at least the end of February.
thank you letters.
Okay, no problem.
You know, there's this word, it's called compromise.
That's,
You know, it can't be
It's
all
okay. Let's
my
move on.
wind's way or no
Moving on.
way. So if you
I'm
compromise, then maybe we can have a
accepting there's no
discussion.
bond, that's fine, I'm accepting there's no bond.
Well, there could be, but you just don't want to compromise. You want to equal one way.
What's the compromise? You're playing
Well,
games
Mark
and you're
gave
not
you
saying.
compromise as
What was the
well. And then
compromise?
you also asked to
What
add
was-
stuff on.
what was the
I don't know,
compromise?
ask Mark, I'm not going to speak for
All
him.
right, well, we're, you
So,
know, this is
we
Mark's
don't
not
move on
here
to
to
the next
vote, I'm not
item.
going to vote for him.
we're moving on, there's no bond, that's it. Okay, so now we're moving on to,
That's really a terrible thing to do. You should put it on for the
I-
next vote and compromise instead of just no or yes, because that's it.
Okay, facilities advisory committee.
facilities
Facilities utilization
advisory.
policy. I'm going to respectfully request for the facilities utilization policy, since the policy did not make it on tonight's agenda, to change for the functioning of the facilities utilization, that I'm going to respectfully request that we move the ability for the folks who have been approved under the old policy to utilize the facilities until June. And that way, the board has more time to work on the policy, put it in place, and we will allow the administrative staff to be able to describe and discuss the changes for any organization that wants to utilize the policy beginning July 1. So I'm just going to ask that the board allow us to extend the temporary utilization this year through June 30. That way we can put the policy and let it have 2 readings the way it should, and allow the folks who have their clubs and their teams and everybody else who's in place that have only been pushed through January to breathe until June, and that way we can implement the new policy next year.
Why?
because it's still not on the agenda.
I don't know why it's not on the agenda. Mary Jane sent it to us 2 weeks ago to look through.
I haven't heard back.
Right, there was the changes that were in there. We were waiting for, I think, Mark and Mylene to look through it.
Now, we actually asked the policy committee if they were ready to put that draft on, and we
It was
did not
everything
receive
that we
affirmative.
discussed, right?
I didn't receive, I don't know if you received affirmative, but I asked Mary, Ms. Woody to actually ask if the policy committee was ready to put that policy on their draft form, but we did not receive approval.
So now you want to wait till June? You don't want to wait till the next meeting to put that one on?
I would like to put it on, but once we do 2 meetings, to save the community who applied for the old regulations, that now we're going to change those regulations midstream this year, I think is
We've been
unfair.
doing that since October, though.
Well, we've been putting off saying they can't use the facilities, but when we get to January and February, and then we say, by the way, now you can't use it for March, April, and May until you do all these other pieces, I just don't think it's fair for the community. So if we put a new policy in place in January or February, to put that policy in place beginning July 1, and that way we will have time to meet with all the community organizations that utilize the facilities, tell them how any changes need to be made, and that way they will be able to get their paperwork in order for July 1. I only think it's fair to the community. I don't know if I have consensus to do that at this point.
You have 5%.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, it sounds great.
Okay, thank you.
So moving up to public comment, this section of the agenda gives the Board of Education an opportunity to recognize a person who wishes to raise a question or to make a brief statement on the agenda matters only. All the topics will be recognized as time allows. The time available will be limited to 3 minutes. For 1 or more topics, comments should be kept as brief as possible and relate to school matters. We're trying to start something new. Mary Jane will be keeping time at the 2-minute and 30-second mark. You're going to hear which will give you the opportunity to finish up in 30 seconds. Thank you.
Good evening. Good evening. This letter is on behalf of the Connecticut Teachers Association, Connecticut Principals and Directors Association, Association of Teaching Assistants, Aides at Connecticut Clerical Association, and the Connecticut Transportation Union. The associations have reviewed the particulars of the bond and have found that it contains essential components that are important in meeting the infrastructure and instructional needs of the district. The associations view this bond as beneficial to students and the community in the most fiscally responsible manner. The associations believe that the bond has met its goal of offering the greatest benefit to the greatest number of people in the most fiscally responsible way. The associations understand that the bond under consideration was devised by a committee that met over an approximate 1.5 years. There was input and discussion from many stakeholders, including parents, teachers, principals, directors, central office administration, and board members, as well as visits to each school building when decisions were made as to the components of the bond. There was also expert input from the assistant to the superintendent, Mr. John Allen, who has availed himself to all stakeholders over the very past months to answer questions and provide specific information regarding each component of the bond. The associations also understand that there have been several presentations to the Board of Education and the community regarding the particulars of said bond. Infrastructure, instructional, playgrounds, and auditoriums, all essential learning tools, safety and health issues covered in the bond. The associations ask that you consider the aforementioned. Again, it is our belief that the bond does meet its goal of providing the greatest benefit to the greatest number of people in a fiscally responsible manner, improving the educational atmosphere and offering updated technological advances will motivate students
in their educational endeavors. One can also say that these improvements make the district more attractive from an educational point of view, therefore affecting the value of your homes in the district in a positive way. The associations see no downside to the bond as ultimately being beneficial to students and the community. To not include all aspects of the bond is not allowing the district and community to take advantage of an opportunity, i.e. 67.6% New York State reimbursement that does not come around too often. This letter was signed by all the presidents of the 5 district associations, and those who know me, know I got 30, right? Know me that I've stood up here many times and talked about spending, where the money's going, and I'm the first to stand up here and say there are areas that we can all still be working together on in saving district money. However, from the bottom of my heart, from my core, those who know me, when I speak up here, that's where I speak from. This is not the place to cut pennies. This is not the issue to cut programs that are going to help our kids. There are places we can sit down and talk about, trust me. Okay, there are. This is not the one. So I implore you, I ask you, please look at it very carefully and let's move forward in doing something that's great for the kids and the community. Thank you for your time.
May I have a
Yes, we have copies of Bradley Gibb. Thank you.
So Linda, based on just that alone, all these units, why can't we add this bond back on next week when Mark is here and everybody can talk about it? So why is it all or nothing? Why?
Because next week is next month.
I mean, next, okay, so why can't we do that? Thank you.
Yes.
I don't think that we should kill the bond because there's some questions out there. There should be more discussion. Why can't we have more discussion? I don't know. I'm not really asking you, I'm kind of asking the ladies here, why we can't have more discussion. Why it can't be a calm discussion instead of everything has to go this way and you don't want to hear other people's opinions. I mean, I don't think we should kill the bond because, and look, all the associations are saying not to do that. You want to kill the whole thing?
Lee and I.
Because you want it all?
We are taking, I can speak for Lee, I am taking the recommendation of those that provided their information over the last
Which
couple
was
of months.
you and Lee.
No.
Well, you were on that committee, no?
Oh, I sat here just like you and I listened to.
Were you not on the committee?
Yes, I was.
Okay, that's what I'm asking.
You know what? We had an opportunity to discuss this.
Sometimes, Eileen, and I say this in the bottom of my heart, sometimes you just have to trust administration.
I didn't say I didn't trust administration at all.
Wait, trustees and
But
board.
you're saying that I'm not entitled to an opinion, it's only your opinion and Mylan's
I've
opinion.
heard your opinion tonight.
No, you didn't, because you still don't even know what I want on the bond and what I don't.
Well, that's what you should have been talking about, rather than.
I don't feel comfortable doing that without Mark here.
Right.
He has other things that he wants on the bond that I don't think should be added.
I don't know about this stuff, that's what you know about it.
He said it to Mylan last week, or the last meeting. I'm sorry, go ahead, I'm done.
So the last thing that was just voted on, does that mean that the outside organizations are able to continue to use the permits that we applied for? Correct. So
Through June 30th.
so the emails that were sent, everything will be approved, and we'll get confirmation shortly? Yep. Thank you. My other comment that's been shared with administration is the permit use has not been equally shared amongst the outside organizations. And currently there is no indoor gym space in any building in the district where our club can get time. I'm hoping that this can be looked into and that it can be shared more evenly amongst the outside organizations in the future, near future. I also missed last year about new K through 5 elementary report cards. I was told that this was going to be discussed this year. Has there been any conversation?
We have not had any conversation about updating the report.
Is that going to be something that's going to be looked into?
Yes.
And the other question I had was also brought up last year, the AP testing. Is it something that's going into the budget? I know you guys are going to be starting the budget soon for next year. There was a parent who recommended that the district pay for the AP tests, and something if the kids didn't show up, then they were going to be held responsible.
Mrs. Hutchinson, I think you provided the guidance on the AP fees.
Yes. If I recall, there was some issue with the district paying for those fees due to a concern about if the public funds in connection with that. So I think that's a conversation that I did have with the education. So that is the main concern with outlaying the money for the AP. Is the concern about it.
There can be something done if the child doesn't show up to take the exam, and they're held responsible and have to.
You know, I haven't researched that issue in particular, just the general issue. So it's something I'll certainly discuss with you.
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
I wanted to say or ask or clarify. I don't understand the whole feeling of the all or nothing, honestly. I'm sitting here for a long time. I don't remember very many times, if any times, that where committees did work extensive like this or not. And it was just, okay, we're gonna just take the whole thing, it was always, maybe we should do this, maybe we shouldn't do that. Compromise were made. I don't see how, at a time like this, especially where Lee, a couple of weeks ago, you said. We did a lot of that stuff. We had July, August, September, October. We had all that time to get input from all board members. And all along it was, let's do it. Everything committee says, no questions asked. Now you get to the end of it and everything's combined, then you take a look and see. You had input. They could have had input in July. Input
giving you the same
input in September. Input not
I'm
the
telling you,
last hour.
I feel very strongly with this whole library thing, and again, especially, given the fact that you told us a couple of meetings ago, that come next year, we're gonna be like all the other districts, no more money, we're done, everything's done.
There's nothing to do, that's why we need a bond.
Exactly what
That's
you
why
said.
we need a bond. That's
But
why
at
all
a time
these
like
districts.
that, I would feel that we would look to not, to do this free-for-all and just pile stuff on, but rather be a little bit conservative, and take into consideration that we're gonna be, I don't know, 4 next year. I don't know how you described it, but you
No,
said
we're gonna be under the
like the other
guidelines
districts who
of the
don't
state.
have anything.
No, guidelines of the state. We're not gonna be poor. Don't ever say that, because that's not true.
Well,
We're
that
gonna
may
have-
not have been the word you used, but that's what you told us a couple
No,
of
I
weeks
didn't
ago.
say
This is
poor.
all over with next year, don't forget, we got nothing left.
We can't spend, like we put so much money into education, building up our buildings. We use a lot of the money, the lawyers said we're not only allowed to have X amount of dollars in budget. So we reduced ourselves, and we're healthy, we're very healthy, but we don't have all this extra money that we had.
I agree, so that's
Okay,
a little scary.
so this has nothing to, and that's why you need a bond. Because all these other districts are building their libraries,
There's
building going forward.
no debate about how wonderful all these things would be.
Right.
Absolutely, I could think of
next
more.
week you're gonna
I could
hear
think
about
of
tourism.
tourism. I could think of another entrance, I could think of knocking down the circle in the front. I'm just saying
But next
that
year-
we should be
the
able
next
to
board
discuss
meeting-
it, not only you, but us, and just maybe, we do 90% of it, 10%, maybe it really is not.
Well, next week you're gonna be hearing about I want turf. More turf fields. You're gonna be hearing next week.
And as far as the voting and all of that, and I understand that I'm out of some of but how many people come out to vote on these special votes? As compared to how many people, which is some of you, but I'm certain there's more than that. We don't know that. Very few come out for the special vote as opposed to the May vote. So to me, that lets more of your community have say in how much, they want done with all the funds.
But if you heard what we do in order to get all the people out, you heard what you just said. administration just said, how they notify everyone, it takes hours. Videos, you've been there, you've seen it done.
Still nobody comes out. And in comparison, well, a lot of.
Well, people don't come out.
In comparison to other.
They don't object.
You can't compare us to Blue Point, Bayport, you know, they're this big, then have more money than we do. You know, that's not really that's not happening.
Is there anybody else?
They don't have more money than we do.
They don't?
No,
No.
They do.
no. Part of it's rich, part of it's poor.
I have a question, because this has been going on for some time now, it's back and forth. What happens if nobody decides and it's split 2 and 2?
There's no money.
Forever.
There's no money. It fails.
There's,
Yes, no cure.
Compromise with some.
but I feel like there's been things thrown out at the last couple of meetings that nobody's compromising on. So one side wants to compromise on, the other one doesn't want to compromise on. So you're pretty much stuck then.
All those unions said the way the bottom looks right now, with the library and this and that, a lot of them do.
They ain't the residents.
Pardon?
They're not the residents.
A lot of them do. We never had a problem like this before.
So that, to answer my question though, if you guys are split continually, that
No,
means
because
that's
maybe we're gonna hear they want to finish the turf field next week. Maybe that's what they believe, maybe a board member feels that way. So, am I gonna give up a library for a turf field? I don't think so. Okay? Or something else that we don't know about yet, because no one has talked to us, exactly, the other board members have not discussed what their vision, what they saw. They're not, I haven't heard that. I mean, it's open, we've been talking about it. You know, we've been here, you've been here, I haven't heard any other board members saying, I would like this, or I would like that. You know, I mean, that's a normal discussion. But we're not hearing that. We're hearing.
What, I'm asking about money, that
because I've been coming for quite some time, as you guys know, and I know that this has been in almost every meeting, and I feel like the last 3 weeks, this has been like heated debates watching you guys, and I don't understand because it's been going on for so long, why now?
Right, I agree with you.
Otherwise, we can't go forward in any kind of decision. So
That's what's going on. I've been doing it for 22 months. I've been going through all the schools. I did my homework. I went today, I had to change my whole schedule again, and I have the opportunity to go today. This was important. I'm making a decision for the future of this district. I felt it was important enough to change my schedule to do that. Mark left, he left work and got there. No, it was important.
taking care of my husband was more important to me than I started there.
I don't know, I just know that you couldn't be reached while you.
That's right, I cannot be reached at all.
That's okay. But you can't, why would we have the opportunity to go again?
And I said I wouldn't, I went to every building, like.
Why would we cancel the whole thing rather than consider something like absolutely do the high school and the middle schools as far as I'm just talking about the libraries. Absolutely, positively, they're closer to their careers and their college, they need that exposure. But maybe hold off on the elementary schools. It's a lot of buildings to do and a lot of expenditure that maybe can be done at another time or something else, you know. But why would we cancel the hold on rather than look at some different options? I don't get that. We've never done this before. Just, wrap it up and here it is and go, that's it.
I think that's why a fifth board member is needed, because that's the legal person who would break the tie on it.
I agree.
But that's the and not only decide.
We have, as a board, we can decide to get a fifth board member tomorrow, they're board members do not want that.
Nobody said we couldn't agree on this.
That's not the point right now. The point right now is, do we come together and make some sort of, compromise? Or say goodbye to the whole thing?
Let's stop right here, I'd like to put out a consensus to go for a fifth board member and interview anyone that's interested in being a board member.
How is that helping us tonight?
Wait, because Eileen says that How is that helping the decision tonight?
No,
I want to go forward.
Sure, I'll do that.
So we have a consensus to interview board members?
Sure.
And we can
Absolutely.
put it out there to my community, we can interview. I've done this before.
Is that gonna be done before the February thing of May? I mean, what does that have to do with it right now?
We're talking apples and oranges. Okay, so we have a consensus to put out for our fifth board member.
So you want me to put a health plan ad out to the community?
Can we have a consensus on looking at the things in the bond and
You know,
making some
Deidre,
changes?
I'm gonna make this, I have taken the recommendation from those that have put their time and effort into the 22 months. So for me to go against the recommendation of people that work so hard and believe as a whole that this bond should go through, I would be discrediting their opinions and their advice, their expert advice, their professional advice. So we have these people in place, we pay good salaries to. We have consultants that we pay good money to. For me to discredit, because that's what you're asking me to do, that's how I feel.
No, not
You're asking me to
discredit.
discredit them when they make this recommendation to put this out as a whole. So I'm gonna go with the advice that was provided to me, and I heard them loud and clear by saying, no, don't do a Prop 1 and 2, it's favorable to do it this way.
I don't even know about that.
I'm not going to take the advice of a layman over someone who's provided me expert advice. So I'm choosing to take the expert advice.
And we could only do this since July, so we have the whole board of members that can ask questions.
I know there's a ton that went into this. I don't minimize that for a minute. I know what it's like to be on committees, I understand. But your husband
Quarterbacking doesn't work.
Huh?
Please stop saying that because I've been asking questions all along. So stop saying that.
All right, so anybody else need?
Yeah.
Okay, we're moving on to our next speaker.
Well, we'll have to figure it out from back again.
I respect each and every one of you for volunteering your time. I've told you that on numbers of times, numerous times. But you have to understand the community standing here, and all I've seen the last 2 meetings is fighting. Fighting the same fighting that you were all against that went on with the Boys Club. So I'm going to stand up and say it because I've done it. I stood on a board. I stood on a PBA as the vice president. I've done negotiations at tables with millions of dollars. I've never seen anything like this where you can't come to a negotiation. That's what it's called. It's not supposed to be an all or nothing. It's not, no offense, your money to be saying it's an all or nothing. It's our money. It's all of our taxes. My taxes are gonna go up for what? For a playground that 5 years from now, my son will be in middle school. I don't care. I want the little kids to have a better playground. But I want communication.
No cost to the district.
I want communication. You know what's costing me? Time with my children right now. You know what it's costing me? To sit here and babysit a bunch of adult people who are acting like children. My 8-year-old and 11-year-old act more mature. I'm sorry, Lee, I have a lot of respect, but you gotta be kidding me. You guys are saying it's 2 versus 2. This isn't a fight. You guys are not, well, I'm just saying, you're sitting here talking about Mark, he's not even here to defend himself. And I'm not on anybody's side. You have to realize how you're acting to at least the people sitting out here and see it. It's extremely frustrating to watch this, and all I'm thinking about is, hey, I want armed guards, I want security, you know my issues. And that's all I'm thinking, and I'm like, I can't, everyone's sick of hearing about that. But I'm sick of hearing that you guys can't come to an agreement on it. You want to throw bonds out? But it's not your money to throw out. You're throwing it out on all of us. Because, and no offense, I respect all the teachers, and I respect their union, but I'm in a union too. And not for nothing, expertise this, expertise that. It's my money. It's my money, it's their money. We pay taxes. I don't care if my taxes go up $1. If I'm looking through that, which I did, some things are a necessity, and some things can be held off and wait. Not saying you should go that route, maybe you should put the whole thing through. But don't you guys think you should, it is at least for all of us, do it for us. Sit down, act maturely, and stop arguing about things that are not personal. It's not personal if you want something and maybe Eileen doesn't want. Mylin wants something and maybe the superintendent doesn't. It's not, it shouldn't be an argument, and you shouldn't be throwing digs at an adult man who's not here. Again, I have no personal preference for him, but you're sitting here talking about turf. I don't care if we get turf or not, personally, I really don't. But I'm just saying to you, he's not here to defend himself. So when he's here next month, then speak about it. To speak about it to public people when you're on a board and you sit together, it's wrong. It's wrong. I sit on a board and I would never talk about those people when they are not in the room. Lead by example. Lead by example. No people can. Lead by example.
I wasn't talking about Mark personally, I was talking
You're
about
talking about
turf.
turf and everyone knew what you were talking about. And it's turf.
No, I don't know.
Extremely
Mark never
embarrassed.
told me he wanted turf.
I'm embarrassed for these.
You understand?
I'm
Mark,
embarrassed.
you're not listening. Mark never told me he wanted turf.
No, he said it on there, maybe, he said it on last week, but
Oh,
last
well,
week,
I don't
he
know
said
that.
it. When I said I don't care if we get it.
I've been down this road with turf, that's why I use that as an example, okay?
You kept using it though, Lee.
Okay, I use it
You
as an
guys are
example.
arguing rather than working it out. Do it for the community.
We were doing this since July for the community.
We have students over there and students over
it's
here.
getting old.
We are grown
It's
adults and
getting
we should be showing them how to do this.
It's
So
embarrassing.
right now, the yelling and the
Well,
screaming
I
for me
apologize
needs
for
to
my,
stop.
for my yelling, I do apologize for that.
We need to stop immediately.
I get it's a lot of
Because we
money,
have
but it
students
shouldn't
over
go
there
to
and
our
students
children.
over here, and it should be done. That's it.
I wasn't gonna say anything, but I really just can't help myself. So, I know it's been brought up that we never listen to the committees. That's been a sore spot. Lee, I think you could agree on that. I've even said it publicly, I will not sit on any of these committees because it's a waste of public's time. I think for the first time, which is wonderful, we are listening to a committee. We are listening to what they have to say. We're trusting their opinions, we're trusting all the time that they have put forward to invest into coming forward with all of the information and creating, I think, in my opinion, a very sound bond. I think it would be remiss of us to not push it forward. And while I think some see it as non-compromise, excuse me, I think some see it as non-compromise. Okay, I guess it's not important for me to talk.
No, you
So,
know, my husband is way more important than anything anybody can
Oh,
ever
I'm
say.
so sorry. So, maybe this isn't the night. So, anyway, I get it with it's a large amount of money, but we kind of do owe it to our children to do the right thing with this. And I don't think it's right, that, I know some are seen as non-compromise, that's what I was saying. I get it, and it might look that way that it's not compromising, but at the same token, I'm speaking.
It's not.
At the same token, if I have consulted a doctor and I've gotten all the opinions and I've decided that I am going to trust his professional opinion and go forward with whatever I'm choosing, I'm not going to compromise my decision because somebody else doesn't trust that. That's my decision. So I think that at some point in life you do have to say, you know what, we consulted all the professionals and I think that we should go forward with what they have recommended. They've recommended ad nauseum. God bless them, because quite honestly, I've listened to the presentation so many times, I think I could probably give the presentation. So I'm not really sure, like others, why there's so many questions these last couple of meetings. There were 22 months to ask questions, and I don't really understand why now all of a sudden there's all these heated questions. I think asking questions is fantastic, but I think that at this point, like, we really kind of have to move forward. I think it stinks that we're not. So, that's it.
Thank you. Personnel matter on the consent agenda before I don't have a quorum. Because the second I don't have a quorum, I don't have anything. So we don't, I guess we're gonna adjourn this meeting. I need to
Talk
do the
about
consent
the,
agenda.
building use. I gotta wake up in like 2 hours for work.
Can I do this separately? I really need the
Is
board
it
to vote.
approved to use, to build the OBMS for the wrestling club?
If that's on the agenda,
It was
then
on the agenda.
we didn't get to that. So
I
we
know,
didn't vote on anything
You're
there?
wrapping everything up.
I need to have votes, otherwise I don't have a board action at this point. I need to do votes.
Linda, I have to go, I'm sorry.
You can't stay 2
No, I
minutes.
cannot, I have to know what I do.
Then I don't have a board, I'm sorry. I don't have a consensus, so I
Yeah, we can start tomorrow.
Okay, say it loud or she walks out.
Okay,
Need a
so
motion to approve
personnel
personnel.
of appointments, tenured scientists. No, we can't, actually, we need five. But the fact that we no longer have consensus.
So we apologize, I think I can speak to you. Unfortunately, we had quite a few hires on here that we're not going to be able to do. So as of now, we don't have a sports. We don't have spring sports.
So that registration that all the parents in the community are asking me about, I gotta hold their season off because she left out.
Pretty much, sir, thank you.
I'll thank them for that.
You know, I
That's
put a lot of
80
time. So
80 kids.
unfortunately, we don't have any spring sports until,
No, it's a winter sport.
sorry?
It's winter.
No, we're going to spring sports.
No, I'm talking about the building use at Oakland Mets. We submitted all our paperwork, we just need the approval for the,
Were you on the consent agenda? Yeah. I'm sorry, you can't do it because she walked out.
and her name is,
Eileen had it.
Thank
Sounded
you.
like it was her husband who did.
80
Very
kids.
bad health at the time. I don't
80.
know what she said.
Probably. Rob.
Can I just ask a question? The 11th grade trip, what is it? The 11th grade? We improve it. Because there's something on Facebook that if you don't get your money in, it's first come, first served. And last year I was
We don't
told
have
that.
we don't have a board meeting until December 5th, so unfortunately, we don't have a trip either.
You guys didn't argue, maybe people could have handled their own business.
You know, I'm not gonna defend that.
I just want to
No, I can't defend it, but
because I was told last year that they were, and it hasn't been.
unfortunately, I don't know what to tell you.
Like the board last year was supposed to make sure that every child is able to go.
Oh, I agree with you, but unfortunately, I can't do anything right now.
Yes, you can, if you will book the trip and you know what it is, $220 for kids to go have a buffet on a boat is a little ridiculous. A wedding costs less than that, includes alcohol. This is a buffet, it's chicken fingers and salads. And not every kid can go, it's $220.
We discussed last year with the treasurer and president of the junior class right now. We discussed last year meeting that there was a limited amount of spots on the boat because it was a horse boat and the price of it would be cheaper. We could accommodate more people if we posted it at the school. The way that it works is that if we would like to change anything we do throughout the school year, as close events as we want, it has to be a majority vote by the student body. So we put it in the vote, we put it in the junior. They voted for the food sales, so we are not allowed to change it unless it's kids, no, the vote was to the kids.
The kids, right, but they don't know the results of it. So now the parents who have other children who weren't allowed to go, not because the kids did, but because the adults didn't have enough to say that they had enough room for everybody. Nobody should be.
I'm getting You abandoned that child. You are me.